Where is the most remote or obscure place that you have found your music or influence that just kind of took you by surprise?
Well, I think that happened many years ago in South Africa. My first album was called Just Because I'm a Woman. And I found out that song in South Africa had stayed on the charts stayed on the charts for like 40 years.
What?
But it was number one for weeks and maybe even years.
We're joined this week by the most honored and revered female singer-songwriter in history. Her list of awards and accolades are endless, but what she's beloved for all over the world is the way she makes people feel. Miss Dolly Parton.
Well, hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm doing great,
Thank
Dolly.
you for all those sweet words.
Oh, you are so welcome. I could
I don't know
go
if
on
they're
and
true,
on.
but thank you for them anyhow.
They are absolutely true. We have so much to talk about today. You've got a new book and an album.
I do.
So we'll jump right in.
Okay.
The new book, My Life in Rhinestones, Behind the Scenes, coming out October 17th. This is a collection of so many beautiful outfits and memories, and one of the ones I loved was the story about the little red high heels that you wanted to keep as a little girl, and your mom took them away from you. It broke my heart for you. But what was it like revisiting all of these outfits and memories while you were working on this book?
Well, it's always emotional to me when I wrote my life story back many years ago. Just going back to kind of dig into all those things so many things you'd forgotten, so many you didn't want to remember, but just kind of how you felt at that time and what you were going through at that time. But in this book, Behind the Scenes, My Life in Rhinestones, really I thought the people would enjoy seeing all the stuff. I've been in this business for 6 decades now. I started when I was this tiny little thing, and from the clothes my mom used to make for me to be on stage, and other people in my climb through the years, all the way up to the greatest clothes and designers that anybody could ever hope for in Hollywood and in the movies and all that. So, and then the stories that I tell about the wigs and the clothes, what I was going through at the time. But the main thing, I love the fact that I'm getting to introduce so many people that did the clothes, talking about them. That's what I love behind the scenes, the people that put all this together and have made me look like I look throughout the years.
Absolutely. And I don't want you to give anything away too big from this question because we want people to buy the book. But is there anything you think people will be surprised to learn when they're reading this and flipping through it?
Well, I think most of my fans pretty much know my life, know the story of my life, and they've seen a lot of pictures. They've seen some things here and there because I only have, so many pictures as far as my childhood and all that, because we didn't have lots of cameras and stuff. But in this book, it has been chronicled with photos and people through the years, whether it be from album covers or from TV shows, and a lot of the clothes that they've never physically seen, and the stories, and seeing how they made them and what all went into them, how many hours this might have taken, and how many stones might have been on this outfit. Just little details that I think people are going to love and enjoy, and especially the fans. Even though they've seen some of the pictures and heard some of the stories, there's always some new things that people can learn about me, and the ones that don't know me that well will get to know the whole story.
For sure.
Through Rhinestones.
Yes, through Rhinestones. There was something you mentioned in the book that I can remember vividly the first time I heard it as a little girl, and it was, you have to suffer to be beautiful a little bit. So is there anything for you when it comes to clothes that's like too uncomfortable, you won't do it?
Well, there's just some of my clothes that are so tight they just are uncomfortable, but I usually will wear them anyway if they look good. That's where they say when beauty bears no pain. Mm-hmm. They usually say that about exercise. I say that about clothes. But there's some things that I'll put on. I think, nah. Well, it depends on the occasion. Like, for instance, the book lady has a certain look. When I'm working with the Imagination Library, I wear what I call book lady clothes. I don't want, because the children, I don't like to wear something that's so low cut or real short. Or I try to look more like the more toned down version of me as the book lady. But for some things, I think that's too much for that. But sometimes I think I can just go for it. So I'll just change it if I don't feel it's right for the occasion more than it is whether it's right for me.
You've gotten to wear so many amazing outfits, and you still have so many great events and performances that you get to go to. What gets you excited about an outfit today?
Well, I'm still like a crazy kid with that. I mean, I love beautiful clothes, and I love all the rhinestones. I love the sequins and the styles and the designs, and especially if you try them on and you look great in them, you think, oh, can't wait to get out there in this. So yeah, I still get excited about that. I love the clothes, and I never minded spending a lot of money on my stage clothes because that's how I make my living. Behind the scenes, though, so much for my own life, I don't have to have all that most expensive clothes ever. I wear a lot of things off the rack, but then Steve Summers, who does most of my things these days, I mean, I have other designers, but Steve and I work together on a daily basis for what we're planning and what we do. So, we just kind of map it out, and he knows kind of what I should be wearing and what I shouldn't, and what's right for the occasion.
That's so wonderful. And you, I know, have had so much fun with the fashion for the Rockstar album. Let's talk about that. Rockstar coming out November 17th.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be so great. This is 30 songs with 9 original rock songs. What did you learn about writing rock music while you were working on this?
Well, actually, I worked with Kent Wells, who produced the album. He did a great job, and he's kind of a rock and roller, even though he's worked in country music, and he is a country boy, but that's he loves rock and roll, so I knew he'd be the perfect person for it. So when we wrote some of the songs together, he gave me some good help with that because he knows the great melodies. He's very strong with the ones that we put in here with the melodies, and of course I can write about anything. And so, but some of the originals that I wrote, I just tried to make myself think, okay, now this is going to be in a rock and roll album like the title song, Rockstar. I thought, well, I think I'd probably be safer to write a story about the rock star, kind of like a girl, like a Joan Jett, say, starting out as a youngster. So you just kind of have to put your mind to what you're doing and stay in that zone. And that rock and roll is a different genre, as they say. It's a different style of music all the way around.
Definitely. And you had the most amazing list of collaborators on this record. Ringo Starr, Paul McCartney, Sting, Elton John, Linda Perry. What were some of the most cherished memories you got to make making this record?
Well, all of them was a precious memory. And just knowing that I got to sing with Paul McCartney, him singing and playing the piano, and Ringo being on that record, that was major, major, major. And Elton John, who I've loved for years, I love that Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, and just hearing us singing that together, just hearing their voices was just enough to, just hearing them in my headphones when we were singing together was just amazing to me. And some of them were so much fun to do, like when Stevie Nicks came down. She stayed in Nashville about 4 days. And so we got a chance to visit and get to know each other, but we had fun singing the song together. But they all had a great memory, just dragging some of those people out of retirement. Some of them had thought, well, I'm not doing it much anymore. I said, well, you're going to do it now. Well,
Yes,
I need you
are.
to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. And we know that your husband, Carl, is a big rock fan. Were you nervous at all to play the record for him?
Well, I wanted it to be really good for him. So I don't know if nerves as much as just really having the desire for it to be really great. I think it made me try extra hard because I wanted it to be something he would think was good. And then when I played it to him, he said, well, that's pretty good. So for him to say that would be like somebody else jumping up and down and saying, that's great.
That's so wonderful. And this is your 49th solo studio album. If this is what you do for 49, you cross a genre, you do a rock album, what do you do for album 50?
I don't know what I'll do after this. I just want people to really enjoy this rock album.
Yeah.
I have to say it's really some really good music, and that I did okay singing it.
You sounded wonderful.
Well, thank you. I really busted a gut trying. I wanted it to be great. I gave it everything I had, and it was fun for me. It was a challenge, but it was fun to get to sing these songs. I usually sing so many of my own songs. It's like great to get to sing something else, especially some classic song. But I didn't want to to sing them so different that they weren't recognizable as the song. I wanted to stay as true to the melody and not get too far, out of whack, with it. Staying on the beat and all the stuff you need to kind of do in rock music. But it was fun, it was a challenge, but I don't know what I'll do next. I'll just probably continue doing more of what I'm doing, and then if a great opportunity, like being put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, gives me an opportunity to do a rock album, if I get put in the R&B Hall of Fame, well, I'll have to do an R&B.
Yes, you will.
Yeah, I wish I would, because I love R&B.
How much do you find that you're still writing? Is this like a daily, weekly thing?
Oh, I still write all the time. That's the way of life with me. That's not something, I don't always finish everything I start, but I write something down almost every day. Some idea, some title, and I just throw them in. I got a little basket, and I carry a little Ziploc in my purse because I'm always coming up with titles I don't want to lose, and I've got a stack of that right now in my purse.
That
I'm
is
coming
so
up with
funny.
stuff, but I write all the time.
You have said before that getting your thoughts and emotions out through songwriting is always really healing for you. Like, that's very therapeutic. And I think that's because your music has always been so vulnerable. And you've always done that, even at times in your career when, being vulnerable was taboo. Why do you think it's always been so important for you to share that vulnerability with the world?
Well, I'm in the business. I wanted to be a star, and I'm one of those people that I want to leave myself wide open and my heart wide open. And I think when you're a writer, you can't really close that off. And so the kind of writer I am, I live off of emotion, and I'm very sensitive, and I feel the sensitivity in other people. And so what I don't write about myself or something I've been through, I write about the people that I might love or people that I see that are suffering, and I can write their sorrow or their joy in a song because I'm able to rhyme, and I mean, that's just something. It's a skill, to that degree, to be able to just put something down and rhyme it. But I really get involved in it when I get myself in what I call my God zone, to where I really am getting deep with that, and that's when I say it's like therapy for me. I write about my own sorrows, I write about my own joys, but I think that we all suffer and feel the same emotions. So my emotions are everybody's, and everybody's is mine, so I can write about that.
Exactly. And I think that's such an important thing to remember, because I think when you feel a really big emotion, sometimes you can feel like, oh, I'm the only person that's ever felt this way. And I know that's why your music has touched so many people, but are you ever shocked at how many people react to something that you felt so strongly?
Yeah, I am. I often am. And a good example of that was even in my earliest days when I put out the little Coat of Many Colors. I got so much mail, so many people reaching out to say that song had healed them of hurts that they had carried around forever. And so many people that had been hurt or laughed at, made fun of for one reason or another, or had been snubbed or bullied or whatever. That little song in itself was just really like a prayer cloth, so to speak.
Yeah.
It was a rag of many colors, but it was in a way kind of like was healing to other people. And so that one I thought was a special one.
Definitely. And your words are so healing for so many people, and it's touched them, I'm sure, in the toughest times of their lives. But what are the things that get you through? Like, what are the words that have helped you through tough times in your life?
Oh, well, I'm big. I grew up in the church, and my grandpa was a preacher, so I just remember scriptures, and I still do my meditations every day, my readings and all that. And I read the Bible. I have certain things that I'll go to. I know the Bible pretty good, so if I'm going through a certain thing, I'll just kind of, read about that. But I pray a lot, and I just throw it out there and just expect him to handle it.
Yeah, please.
Just handle it when it gets too much for me.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, May 30th of next year, you and Carl Dean are going to celebrate your 58th wedding anniversary.
And 60 years together.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we met 60 years ago in May.
Oh my gosh.
Of 64, when the first day I came to Nashville from high school, when I came to live.
You guys have such an amazing love story, and what's kind of, I think, special to me is that 1 week after your anniversary, I'm getting married to my fiance. And I've been making the habit that when I meet somebody who's had a very long and successful marriage, to ask, what is your advice?
Well, you got to have a respect for each other, And liking one another is a really good thing. I really like Carl Dean, and I love him too. But he's just a really good guy, and he's funny as he can be. And I think having a sense of humor, both of us do. And he's crazy, and we can laugh our way through so much stuff. But I think just trust and love and respect. And just trying to, they say a lot of those old things, never go to bed angry. So many of those things, try not to do that, because we've always got along great. And I think we don't have a bunch of stuff that we've built up between us of hateful words and things like that. So I think now that we're older, we're both glad that we never allowed that to happen. So don't start a big bunch of arguing, because once you start it, it becomes a habit. Seen it all the time, so we never had that. So just trust and respect, I think, is the best stuff.
That's so special, and that's great advice. When I was getting ready for this interview, I was kind of going through just some of my memories of you and experiences with your music, and one of the things I thought of was in 2019, I was on a trip to Morocco, and we were doing this excursion. We were driving 11 hours into the desert, and I remember sitting in the car thinking, I'm so far away from home. And Jolene came on the radio. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, there is no corner of the world too remote for Dolly Parton. So I want to ask you, where is the most remote or obscure place that you have found your music or influence that just kind of took you by surprise?
Well, I think that happened many years ago in South Africa. I wrote my first album was called Just Because I'm a Woman. And I found out that song in South Africa had stayed on the charts stayed on the charts for 40 years.
What?
But it was number one for weeks and maybe even years, because the women felt so, oppressed, and it was really about speaking for them, I guess. And I did some shows in Johannesburg in my early years, but I was never so shocked as to how that record was the biggest thing for so many years on the charts there. So, but all over the world now, I've been around. So much of that too is because of the movies. I've done movies that are worldwide too. But in my early days, just singing my little country songs in those areas that people like country music. But I'm always surprised at how much that people say they know me, or just what you said. Somebody say, I was out in the middle of nowhere and here comes you, or you had a picture of you in the airport, and it just makes me feel loved, and it makes me feel like, how lucky I am that my dreams have come true. That's what I wanted, to travel the world and be famous.
And you have done it. Okay. Dolly Parton, I said at the beginning of this, you are so beloved because of the way you make people feel, and you have made me feel so wonderful to get to spend this time with you today.
That makes me feel good.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
It's a give and take,
yes, it is. It is. Thank you so much for the time. I so appreciate it.
You're welcome.